You're listening to a Lost in the Groove segment.
Having good vibes with your bones and joints. Taking a trip into the groove. American groove into stoner world. Gonna play.
It was given to me not as a replacement to Callie, but for me to have another opportunity, to take care of another pet and have that experience, even though with my loss. I'll never forget Callie. I mean, to think can you imagine somebody purposely running over a cat to kill it?
Yeah, people are fucking evil.
Yeah.
Louie's not ready for us to podcast yet.
Oh no, he's just wow, wow, wow.
Oh, he's been like
little
a
Frankenstein.
toddler. Yeah, he's like an actual toddler. I'm gonna have to capture him and then hold him in my lap.
Oh Jesus! Oh my God, that is intense.
Oh,
whoa.
man.
So, for anybody that's listening and knows this, Louie is a pug. He's an adorable little pug, but just like when he opens up his mouth, his entire face goes away. When he barks, oh boy, does he bark. Louie should get the Guinness World Record for the longest barking dog, I personally feel.
It's awful. It's not what I wanted for the behavior of my dog. I feel like nobody wants a yipper, and
No.
I feel like I tried really hard, but I was in an abusive relationship. And so when he was a puppy, he was around somebody who just yelled all the fucking time. And so there wasn't really much I could do. I got him out as soon as I could, but I don't know. Sometimes he just barks his little fucking head off.
See, those are the things about having pets that people kind of tend to forget is those little tiny itsy bitsy eeny weeny inconveniences.
Well, he just won't stop. We were on the phone for 17 minutes right before we started recording.
Oh my God, you actually counted how long we were on the phone call? Oh, okay.
No, the phone does that for me. I just looked to see how long the phone call was, and it was 17 minutes. And I know that he barked the entire phone call.
Whoa. That is nuts.
He's just
look at that stature.
Ouch. Ah. I think he's overly tired. And so he wants to take a nap, but he's overly tired. Yeah. Can you hear me pretty good?
Oh yeah, I can hear you perfectly well.
Good. Okay. Because I don't want to adjust my microphone because it wants to fall over.
Yes, we had that issue. We had that issue last week. Oh!
I'm in a much better mood than I was last week, which is good. Last week I was kind of just easily pissed off and I don't know. My mom keeps moving things around. I'll put things in one place and then she'll move it to a different place.
Oh, my mom does that too. Same thing.
It's just something that I have not gotten used to about living in the same place as her. I'm just what the hell? I went outside in my storage and brought my cutting board, my cutting knives, all the stuff that I use for cooking food, just little tongs and my favorite spatula, the stuff that I know how to make my food, work the way I want.
Right.
She put all of it back. She went and put it all back into my storage. And I was what did I why? Why do you think I brought it inside? Why do you think it was put inside? What did I bring it inside for it to be put back where it was? I just don't understand. And I can't find anything anywhere. It's just I don't know. She doesn't realize how irritating that is. It's
it is very irritating.
I put something in one place and it's not where I left it. It's crazy.
Exactly. I mean, it is crazy. And it's funny because I remember a few weeks ago, I made dinner for my mom. And I asked her for chicken broth because I was making a roast. And my mom keeps her stocks in the closet, okay? That's where she always keeps it, in the closet. But She only had broccoli soup that was there. Okay. All right. We made the best of what we had. Sure enough, I open up her spice rack. 2 containers of chicken stock were in her spice rack. I was like, Ma, you put it in there and now you're moving it over there. Like, why? What is the point? Why are you putting that in the spice rack? And she's like, oh, I don't know. I thought it was supposed to be there. What? You always put it in the cabinet over there. You've never put it there before. And she was making as though like it's always been there.
Yeah. I don't know.
It's the worst. It's the
It's
worst.
okay, so like I have an electric toothbrush and like it goes on a charger, you know?
Right. Yeah.
But like I don't sit the electric toothbrush on the charger all the time because if it's fully charged, it's like fucking insane. Like it's like like, you know, just like I have like a machine gun in my mouth, you know? And I like can't stand
like
it.
bazooka, you know, like
Oh my gosh, it's like like just like vibrating the absolute hell out of my mouth. Like it's not a relaxing experience.
You want to know right now that would be an affordable vibrator if there hasn't been any.
Dude, it was so intense. And like I told her, I'm communicating. I'm like, Mom, I don't want my toothbrush on the charger every night. Like I want it to kind of like charge like every 3 days or something like that. And that's like fine. And she will deliberately put it back onto the charger every single night, knowing that I don't want it on there every single night. And like, I'm not around enough to like stop her. I look over, there it is on the fucking charger. And I'm like, what the hell? Like, am I going to have to hide it from you? I'm going to have to hide my toothbrush for it to not be like, like, you know, every time I brush my teeth, I'm like, oh my God, like, you know that I don't want it that way. I have communicated and told you, like, I'll take care of it. And it's just like, every time I pick up my toothbrush twice a day, like, I'm like, oh my God, like, this is not okay. And she's like, well, it should be fully charged. It's better for your teeth. And I'm like, it's fine. Like, does it matter what I want?
Like, you might have to go to the levels of putting that fucking toothbrush into a plastic bag, you know, open up the toilet cover, you know, put it in there, you know, sneakishly, like at 11:35 every night, you know, like, da-dun, da-dun, da-dun.
Dude, I took the toothbrush and I put it in my room, okay?
Whoa.
And
that's
then, like,
next level.
Yeah, and then the next day, it was on the charger. I was like, what the hell? Like, I can't just put it in my room. I'm going to have to put it in, like, an actual hiding spot, like, where she can't find it, you know? Like, I'm like,
oh my God.
I remember in high school, I had to be like, Mom, you're not allowed to come into my room, you know? And, like, I don't want to go there, like, now. Like, I'm like, I think I shouldn't have to tell you that. Like, be like touching my things and like moving my stuff around and like,
believe it or not, that's actually how my mom found out I was gay.
Yeah, by coming into your room. Yep. I know.
She admitted it like years, and like now, of course, she doesn't admit to it anymore. She's like, "Oh, I don't know what you're talking about," but you know,
does she just like gaslight? She does. She just acts like you're not gay.
Sure. Oh like, yeah, for sure. Not. Plenty you're of times. Gay. Oh yeah, plenty of times. She's like, "Oh, you don't find that girl attractive?" And I'm like, no, Ma, I don't find that girl attractive in that way. And her response is, what do you mean in that way? And I'm like, what are you not understanding? A banana is curvy. I'm not straight. I'm curved like a banana. You know, I do that as a joke because my mom doesn't like sexually derived jokes. My mom doesn't like a lot of things. She doesn't like swearing, which, believe it or not, my mom's level of swearing is crap. Yes. Crap and shit is swearing. Even though
so what does she say when she's frustrated?
Oh, she curses.
Yeah.
Listen. Okay, for any newcomers, and you know this, my mom is a New Yorker, okay? She's from Brooklyn. And she's Jewish, okay? They are the most nosy, hypocritical, pesty, obnoxious, wonderful, talented, incredible mothers that have ever existed on the planet. Yes, they're the biggest pains on earth, but they're fucking wonderful because they're so hardworking. Like with all of the issues, I would say probably even with your own mom, with all of the issues, like at its core, I think they do this shit not because they want to piss us off,
No.
because they care for us and they feel that they know better because they want to. They have that in them. I mean, like for fucking Christ's sakes, my mom raised me for 20 years. You know, we got to take that in for account as well.
Yeah, I mean, I feel bad because I feel like when I complain about, stuff like me doing something and her like reversing it, I feel like she like takes it really personal and like thinks that, I'm like mad at her and like don't appreciate things. It's like, no, I just don't want my stuff moved around all the time. Like, it makes it hard for me. Like, you're creating a challenge for me. Like, you're creating like a difficulty. Like, you're ruining my toothbrush time. Like, every time I brush my teeth, it's not relaxing anymore. It's insane. So I'm like,
Yeah,
just, I don't know.
it's weird. It is. You know what I think the weirdest thing that I've had to like come to realization with is like I think the biggest pride to my mom more than anything is for me to just be happy. Like plain and simple. She just wants me to be happy. And I know this because she expresses it when we talk and when we're on the phone. And it's strange when you become a parent. I've never experienced this. Maybe in the future I will. This bond and connection you have, and I feel as you get older, and you probably have a lot more wisdom on this, like you start to realize it more and start to
What? Because
really
I'm old? No.
No, you just
Just
have more.
fucking with you.
No, you have more parent experience than I do. I mean, you've experienced your parents longer than I have. I mean,
I'm just talking over you. I'm sorry.
no, please. We're supposed to be obnoxious, annoying, and irritating on this podcast. That's the point.
Yeah.
Is it?
There I definitely I want to talk about just whatever comes to mind, but one thing that I definitely wanted to touch on is, have you heard
Well,
about
are we
huh?
skipping the whole mom thing?
We can continue the mom conversation and I'll just tell you there's a thing that I want
Okay,
to
we'll talk
touch
about it
on
later.
later.
Yes,
Okay.
let's talk about
All
this.
right.
Okay, yes.
No. Wait, the mom thing? Are you ready to move on to my weird subject?
I'll make a note down. I'm
I made
stoned.
a note. I made a note that I have a weird thing to talk about, but
Okay. You're good. I'm gonna do my thing. You
I
do
built
your
it up now.
thing. Yeah.
Okay, have you heard that like about the cyber hacks that are happening in Las Vegas?
Can you elaborate? I haven't been reading the news.
Yeah, okay, so somebody like hacked the entire system and like shut it down in Las Vegas, all the MGM hotels and casinos have been completely hacked, meaning that like all hotel reservations can be completely wiped. They're not able to take credit card payments of any
Whoa.
kind. They have absolutely zero internet access. Like the mainframe of all MGM hotels and casinos has been completely compromised. Not only were they completely compromised, but there was like a, I don't know how to say it, like a ransom type message that was sent and said like, pay us this much money and we'll reverse it. So they needed to pay them like such and such, like 100,000, billion, who knows, money, and then they will unhack the system and it can be like used again. But the thing is like, as soon as it's like, they pay them off, they just hack it again and then ask for more money. So there really is no like paying them off and then like, you know. So I just wonder, like, who's doing it?
We're all about the artist. That is the whole purpose of this podcast, period. And you have a really valuable tool. You can share this with artists, people that are creative, someone that can enjoy this podcast and really enjoy the experience of Lost in the Groove. So, with that, let's jump back to today's episode, shall we?
People were saying that, like, Russia was doing it. I could believe that, like, the actual, like, MGM themselves could be doing it just to, like, get money. I could believe that there's somebody that works for the company that figured out how
Okay,
to
this
do
is
it.
from CNBC. Thankfully, I have my iPad here. I always forget this for the podcast. Always.
That you can do research, like, while we're recording.
While we're doing this, and I have a nice screen for this too.
Okay, but,
Okay,
like,
so
here, before you read the whole news, what do you think
no,
about what
I'm
I
not.
just
I'm going to
told
go
you?
through the. I'm going to go
I
through
know, but
the.
what I just told you, before you even look at the news, what do you think about what I just told you? 30 million? Is that what their ransom is for?
Yes, $30 million. That's how much the ransom was for.
I don't even know if ransom is the right word.
It's a directive play. I mean, a definite block on finances and complete control of their finances. Because hello, they're able to control the casino. You control the casino, you control their finances. I look at this from 2 points of interest. Okay. One point of interest is with corporations, and the other one is when it comes to casinos and finances. The biggest thing is these infrastructures can be compromised so easily, especially with, I mean, hello, the way that we've allowed Chinese technology to enter our country. I mean, for God's sakes, Chinese companies own farms in this country. They have set
Oh,
up.
they buy up land next to our military bases.
Yes, and I don't know if you know this too. A lot of our telephone towers were built in China and brought over here. So we have telephone towers all over this country that are all compromised. So look, I'm not a security analyst or anything of the sort. The way I look at something like this is, what can we learn as observers? We can learn on how sensitive and almost like weakness and vulnerability there is right now when it comes to large scale corporations and large finances.
Yeah, like how vulnerable it is. And
Whoa.
isn't it? And I mean, it's interesting that it happened in Vegas, but like I also like had like a feeling that there was going to be like an attack, you know? And I it's interesting that it's not,
They
Twin
have different
Towers anymore.
amounts. They have different
They're
amounts.
they don't correlate because I think it's happened more than once.
Oh my God. Yeah, these are from 2 or 3 days. This one's from Forbes. It was Caesars Palace.
Well, it's all MGM hotels, but
Yeah.
because
It was.
they're like linked. But I don't know if Caesar's Palace is another one that also got hacked or whatever, but the Bellagio is completely hacked. And it was to the point where they're only taking cash payments for hotel rooms. And it's like people have, airplanes that take them there. And since this kind of thing isn't being talked about, people just show up in Vegas without knowing that, like, there's no way to go out to eat. There's no way to go to a casino. There's no way to get a hotel room. And you're just like fucking stuck there. And so you just got to like get on a plane and like leave again. But I mean, that really hurts America's economy like intensely because like Vegas makes a lot of money. I can't believe that somebody hasn't hacked Disney. You know what I mean? Like if they know how to do that, just hack the fucking park. Like,
There,
but I know that there's casino money, and so they probably want
this
that money.
this may bother some people to hear, but unfortunately, some of these large dogs like Microsoft and Disney, they have large shareholders across the borders and over the waters. So, whether we want to believe this or not, I don't generally have proof. This is what I've heard. It could very possibly be that Disney has shareholders in the Chinese regime in their Communist Workers' Party. And because there's common interest in wealth going back and forth, there may be an agreement over there. Because think about it, large corporations are not stupid. If they know this kind of stuff is a reality. Come on. I mean,
Well,
I
it's a reality, but it's actually, I mean, maybe it's happened before, but it's never happened on my radar before. I've never actually heard of this like actually happening. Like not to this scale. You know what I mean?
probably not. I mean, this is an immense amount of. You got to understand, this is a casino. Okay, you have to
Yeah, it's
understand,
kind
like,
of interesting that it's like it's also something that affects like the regular person, you know, like cuz they're the patron. Like it's not like they just hacked a corporate
they're
company.
pouring their money into those machines constantly. Like, you're
I
right,
just think
yeah.
it's absolutely fascinating that they put out a ransom for it too. Like where does the money get wired to? You know, and like what brought this on? And I've also like always wondered about that big ass shooting that happened in Las Vegas at Mandalay Bay, which was also like an MGM hotel. And like I just feel like there was something going on there that none of us knew about. And I believe that he was like, you know, trying to get money from people or something like that. And he was saying, like, I'm gonna kill all these people down here, you know, like if you don't do something for me. And I think he was into like some big shit that other people don't know about. He's not just some random guy at
Well,
all. There's no
okay.
way.
So, a wake up call is a lot of these cities. Las Vegas was built on crime. It was built by hustlers, gang members, mobsters. And I live down here in Florida. Miami is built on cocaine to this day. That is what Miami is known for. I'm sorry. Like, that's just
Yeah,
a
there's a lot of
reality.
cocaine in Las Vegas too.
But
I mean,
it's
not
just like
enough, but
but these are cities ravished in crime. That's what is their income. Their income is
and
crime.
the prostitution and not just prostitution, like illegal
Oh,
trafficking.
oh, it's high.
Yeah.
It's high.
Because there's like regular, you know, sex work that's like done correctly, and that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about like the bad shit. Yeah.
Yeah, like people getting kidnapped and being in these human trafficking gangs and wards where like these people never come today. Like they literally just come in a van, they grab you, they throw you in there, they put you in a workforce, and this is what you do. You can't escape, you can't go anywhere. Like you're stuck. And
Yeah, they
you know,
always used to say there's a lot of holes in the desert.
for a good reason.
I don't know. So yeah, you're just saying like this city was built on crime, and I just for
It's
me it's like an
inevitable.
example. Like I feel like everybody look at this, you know, like this is only the beginning. Like that's what I think, and it scares me a lot. Like it
Look
I don't
at
know.
you know what's crazy? Look what crime has built. Crime has given us Chicago. Crime has given us Las Vegas. Crime has given us New Orleans. Crime has given us Atlanta. Crime has given us Miami. It's like all of these incredible cities that we love and enjoy, and they're just beautiful. They're built by criminals. They were built by criminals hundreds, like over 100 years ago, for criminal acts. That was the whole purpose, and like for them to come together and have a place to come to. And it's just odd of how like our brain span is just like that. Next week is something else. Next week is that. Da, da, da. We don't ever realize, why are we doing these things? Why do these places exist? Like, why is this shit happening? And then you realize why. I'm just saying. I'm just saying.
I just wonder what it means. And it's absolutely crazy how much it hasn't been on the news like at all. Like
Oh,
it's
of
seriously
course not.
word of mouth. Like I heard it from people who have actually gone to Vegas and have dealt with it, you know? And then like there were posts about it on Facebook that got like taken down. So I think this is the new thing. Like, you know, before it was like COVID, and now it's going to be like cyber hacks. I asked my mom about like, are they able to like, you know, do the same thing with like Wells Fargo, Chase, Bank of America? Like, Are people able, like, like, what happens? Because I could totally see the bank being like, "Oh, too bad," like, "Well, we've been hacked, like, we don't have your money either." You know what I mean? Like, and then it's just like fucking nobody has any money.
You see, it's interesting because like when reading through this story, it's
Yeah,
just
what's your story say?
okay. So I'm gonna give you guys just a little
And who's it
snippet.
by? Yeah.
This is a New York Post. This one is the most interesting from what I've read, and I skimmed through one from CNBC, and the other one was from Forbes. There was a few other articles, but like even going through, there isn't that many that's on it, and they all have different amounts. They all have different representations. But hear this. Okay, so it states the bad actors stole a copy of the Caesars loyalty program database, including the driver's license numbers and social security numbers for a significant number of customers. We haven't taken steps to ensure that the stolen data is deleted by the unauthorized actor. Although we cannot guarantee this result, Caesar said in this filing, we're monitoring the web and we've not seen any evidence that the data has been further shared, published. Caesars did not identify the culprits behind the cyber attack. However, a group called Scattered Spider, or UNC 3944,
What a
which
fucking name, man.
awesome, which specializes in
It's
social
not, but it
engineering
is.
attacks, is believed to be responsible to two sources familiar with the matter told by Bloomberg. The attack reportedly began around August 27th.
It's been a while. Like, it's like,
It's
that's a few weeks, man. Like,
yeah. Wow, that's crazy.
it is crazy.
Oh,
It's a what?
it's
Are we
crazy
supposed
how
to be talking about it right now?
no,
Probably
like
not.
no, I'm just like it's a crazy how like 10 minutes ago I had no idea any of this exists. I mean, I had some idea that cyber attacks were going on, but who would think to this extent? I mean, this may seem small, but trust me, you see what's going on in San Francisco. We should get to that, by the way, because have you seen the shit that's been going on in San Francisco?
What's going on in San Francisco?
Well, basically, San Francisco has become a death hole. There is no criminal justice system, there's no police infrastructure of any kind. A lot of luxury brands have left, a lot of companies have closed up shop. It's to the point that San Francisco may be the next Detroit.
The other thing that I want to bring up is Lady Gaga. I've been very suspicious of what she's been doing recently because I see her.
Next time, send me over. And this is, by the way, just want to let you guys all know this. We talked about this last week. You got ideas for the podcast, interesting articles, whatever the shit is, send it to us. We have an email.
Yeah.
Send us on IG.
Yeah, we can talk about it. Yeah, we'd love to hear things that you guys want us to talk about.
Oh, yeah.
But my suspicion about Lady Gaga is that I've recently seen her doing a lot of jobs that Lady Gaga wouldn't have done before. And I feel like she's either hard up for money or she's trying to make a whole bunch of money right now for some reason so that she'll be okay later. But there absolutely makes no sense for Lady Gaga to be doing pharmaceutical commercials. Like, there's no reason for that. Like, she has way too much money. And, like, why on earth would she need to do pharmaceutical commercials? Also, why on earth would she need to do a residency in Las Vegas? Like, I'm a little suspicious. Like, it just doesn't line up with me. Like, this woman has, like, she can spend $1 million a day, like, and so why is she working so hard to make extra money at the moment? The other rumor that I heard is, like, totally unrelated, but it makes me very suspicious that, like, I feel like certain celebrities know about things before they happen. Like, they get some type of, like, inside information about things that are going to happen. There's a rumor going around that Oprah Winfrey hired a fire crew to protect her house before the fires happened in Hawaii. So
This is already, by the way, anybody that's listening to this, you can check out the Joe Rogan podcast. This is important. They had recently an episode with one of the people that's out from Hawaii that was talking about this. He said that during the fires on the upper mountains, the sprinklers were going off on the golf courses. So the water, they shut off the water. So they weren't able to deter the fires at all. But the water was going up on the top of the mountains. So you got to ask yourself this question, like, and Oprah and Dwayne The Rock Johnson posted a whole thing, support Maui, support the Hawaiians. I'm like, you have fucking over $2 billion, maybe more. Like,
yeah, why don't
who the
you do
fuck
it?
are you? Yeah, who the fuck are you to ask us for money? Like, who are you? Like, you're up
I
on the
hate
top of the
that
mountain.
I always really liked Dwayne. I always liked The Rock. Like, I always did, you know, and
He's
so it bums me
fake.
out.
He's fake. Believe
Yeah,
he's
well,
on
it bums me
steroids and
out.
all that shit, and it's horrible. But
You know, I feel like there was one time that I kind of said something where I was like questioning Jason Momoa, and then I had a conversation with my mom, and she kind of clarified all my things, and I take back anything that I ever said about Jason Momoa where I was like, what is up with this guy? I think he's actually a really stand-up dude, and he actually made like a couple different posts saying like don't give money to anyone like over like Hawaii stuff because he's Hawaiian. You know, his father was from Hawaii or a different area within there or whatever. But what I was mostly getting at is that Oprah knew that it was going to happen before it happened. Like, and this is rumor. Like, I don't know Oprah.
they
I
didn't
don't know if
also
it's true or not.
they didn't also fire the sirens. And the person that's responsible for agriculture, he didn't show up until a few days later. And when they finally confronted him, and he was like, oh well, we didn't sound the sirens because we only use them for tsunamis. And in their website and in the paperwork for Hawaiian like wildfire protection, you know, all that shit, you know, explaining in case of danger what you're supposed to do, it clearly states tsunamis, hurricanes, and wildfires. So, you know, I don't want to like say like, oh, they like murdered Hawaii, but there's clearly evidence here stating that innocent Hawaiians that are Hawaiian, they are from the islands that have been living in Lahaina for generations. That's where they're from. That's where their culture is from. And they had no water. They weren't warned. They weren't cared for properly. The person that was responsible for the department didn't show up until days later. And like, it hurts because we're Americans and these are supposedly American citizens as well. And they're being treated like shit right now.
Well, the other thing is that like I have friends who have gone to Hawaii and like there's a massive homeless community in Hawaii, but like the homeless community in Hawaii is not like the homeless community in, let's say, Skid Row.
They take
The
care of each
homeless,
other.
yeah, the homeless community in Hawaii, like they live off of the land and they live like in the woods and they make their own food and they, you know, like get fish and they all kind of like are friends with each other. And I think there is like with some of them, not everyone across the board. I think there is some drug use that's like not helpful to that community, but you know, people need some vices or whatever it is. I don't know, no judgment. But like I do know that that is part of it.
It
But
is what
like
it
the other
is.
thing is
Yeah.
like when my friend Cynthia, here I go name dropping. When my friend went to Hawaii,
No one's going to know. There's so many
no one
people
knows who
named that
she is.
name. Yeah.
When she went to Hawaii, she got a stick and poke tattoo from
Those are
like
painful.
the homeless community. Yeah, and so like they're all like doing their own tattoos and like you know, honestly, it's a little too good to be true. They don't have to pay taxes, they don't have to do anything. They just get to like live and like live, you know? And so I do believe that part of the fires were to drive out the homeless community, the people who are just living like actual people, like humans, David, like freaking humans, not like in cars, on cell phones, in call centers. No, they're living like humans. They make their food from the earth, and they have the dirt under their feet and the sun above their heads. Like, like, and it's like it works. Like,
We
it works.
had
Like, these people aren't sick. They don't need health care. Like, they're fine. Like, and here we are burning them out of like their areas and like ruining them.
we had you remember we had Matthew Gray. I think he's in Oahu.
Oh, holy shit. We should talk to him again. But
I
yeah,
I'm gonna send him out an email. I just haven't had the time. But he
he loves
was
us.
of course he did. I mean, he has a really cool podcast. So really check it out. Like he brings people on from like all different sides of food and culture. And one thing that he told us on when we had him on the podcast was the feeling of being in Hawaii. When you meet somebody that's from Hawaii, and it's kind of strange because David Chapman, the one that murdered John Lennon, was living in Hawaii, which is kind of strange. But anyway, that's a story for another time.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, he was living in Hawaii. But I don't know, there's something about maybe the culture or the island, but the way I see the fires is in a direct attack at not necessarily Hawaiian culture, but Hawaiian living. Like, do you know how much it's going to cost to rebuild these homes and what they're going to do to raise them to be like over $4 million so nobody can afford to buy them? Like, that's what they're going to do to them now. They burnt the land down. So now they can buy it all up and take it away from everybody.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's like they want to drive out like regular people, like they don't, I don't know, but I think what it really is like just getting rid of ancient cultures, like just like the same way that like the Native Americans were taken away, the same way that like the Aborigines, like all of it. Like it's just like they just want to get rid of anything that isn't, just their big, beautiful melting pot that they're obsessed with,
I
like
remember
nobody can just be who they were. You can't do that. You've got to become what America is now, which is everyone. Like, and it's like that's great, but like people need the ability to have their individuality.
for sure.
Like, and
Yeah,
I don't
it's a
even think that they
must.
want the people in the Midwest to be who they are. I think they want to get rid of that too. Like they don't want the people in Texas to be who they are. They want it all gone. They want everybody to
You know,
just be no actual identity, just a whole bunch of all mixed up identities all thrown together.
I remember I was watching a clip. It was with a member of the Navajo Nation. And of course, being the person that was interviewing was asking a lot of gender and, sexual orient and all those questions.
What'd they
And
ask?
one question that they asked that came to mind was she asked I think it was a chief or a member. I think he was a board member for the tribe. And she said to him, what type of language do you use for someone that is masculine but is female? A person that's female but is masculine. And he starts to laugh and he's like, which type? He says, warrior by seas, warrior by horse, warrior by land. And everybody started laughing because in their culture, it doesn't matter if you're female or male. There are tribes in Native American culture, females were the warriors. They fought. They were the hunters. And a lot of this gets forgotten and people don't realize that there's all these different tribes, all of these different people that have these stories. And stories are important. It's why we're doing this podcast. It's why we interact with people every day. And whenever that gets destroyed, it's a very sad moment.
Well, I think it's like some type of screwed up communism to like start like saying, like this is for men and this is for women. Like it doesn't allow us to just like be like what we're good at. Like it's obvious that like some people are going to be good hunters regardless of if they're men or women. Like I think that's, I mean, we have to look at like individual skills instead of, just being like, well, you fall into this category, so like you can only do this. Like that,
Think
how far
about,
can you get with that type of attitude?
we were talking about stick and poke tattoos. One thing about Polynesian and Hawaiian culture is tattoos represent your story and your life. That's why Hawaiians have tattoos. And the rings representing oceans, memories, stories, families, mothers, grandmothers, ancestors. So when you look at a Hawaiian that's covered in tattoos, that is their story. They're a walking, it's incredible. They're a walking art piece of their ancestry. And
Mhm.
like even Jason Momoa, like you can see from his tattoos, it's a very strong part of their culture.
Mhm.
And we don't have to do it, but you can learn a lot from it. Why do they do that? Why have they kept this so long? Why is this so important to them? There's, I guess, deeper layers to the onion that you can learn about it, maybe.
Yeah, The Onion isn't a book that you can pick up and read through.
You need to experience it.
Yeah. Hey, speaking of books, I
Yes,
get I get to go meet Chuck Palahniuk. Palahniuk. I can't say his last name as well as I should.
it's all
He's
right.
the
I don't think
writer
you
of
can
Fight
either.
Club. Yeah, the writer of Fight Club. I get to go meet him this week, and I've been reading Fight Club.
Watch the movie?
Oh yeah, I've seen it before, but I've been actually reading the book to like really, get a feel for the author and like his writing style. There was a thing that I read just the other night where he talks about hitting rock bottom, and that hitting rock bottom is the only way that you're free to do anything. So I've been kind of like, a lot of the stuff in the book was honestly like really, really, really depressing and kind of like hard for me to read because I protect myself from things that are kind of like morose and like depressing and stuff, because like
And
I'm
livid.
very empathetic, and so like it's easy for it to like get to me, so I kind of like distance myself from it. So as I was reading, I also like, I feel like my mental health is like a lot better than it ever used to be. So like it was really hard for me to even like relate with a character that was as unhappy as he is. But I wanted to tell you that the other night there's a part where the one character says to the other, like, have we hit rock bottom yet? And
I
his
love this.
answer, he's like, have we hit it yet? And the other person like won't give him a real answer, and he says, if Marilyn Monroe was alive right now, what would she be doing? And then he like pauses, and he's like, like, I don't know, like, I don't know. And he's like, she'd be clawing at the lid of her casket. It's just, and then the chapter ended. But I wanna ask him, like, is there, like, a message there? Like, will we put her in the ground, you know? Like, like, it's just, it's a very, very clever statement. Like, she'd be trying to get out of a casket if she was alive right now. Like, the thing is that it kind of implies that people fill in the blanks. Like, when you ask a question, someone already fills in all the blanks. Like, no one said, like, if Marilyn Monroe had never died, what would she be doing right now? No, it's if she was alive right now. So it's us that like assume, like that she'd still been doing things all the way until now. And it's like you can't block out everything that has happened while answering people's questions. And that is what it is. It's like you just assume all these things when someone asks you this question, and it's like, no, just pay direct attention to what the real question is. It's if she was alive right now, not, like if she had never died, if she'd always been doing what she'd been doing. Like, I don't know, I just think it was like, I read tons and tons of stuff in that book, and there were like 3 or 4 things that really stuck with me, and that was one of them. She'd be clawing at the lid of her casket. It was, I mean, it's extremely, like,
well,
morbid.
you know that if Marilyn was clawing at her casket, she would be doing it dashingly, darling. But it is interesting on how, with a play of the word, the way that you can persuade someone to do what you want. It's kind of like the perfect way of manipulating somebody to believing something that's complete bullshit and accepting it as fact. You know, like, to tie into what you were talking earlier, because I was reading about this with Lady Gaga. It's like, here's the reality check. Okay, we live right now in an era of no one is real. I could be a piece of shit. Carissa could be a piece of shit. We could all be pieces of shit. But I feel that doesn't take away from the fact that we're all terrified and we don't want to admit it.
Yeah. The thing that, really worried me about the Vegas thing is like the whole ransom. It's like, so they can't reverse it, like they can't undo it without paying these people, like it's like they have no way to
Scattered
stop it.
spider.
They have no way to stop it. Like, like you can't just like turn it off and start a new one or something like that.
You
Like,
know, it's
also,
strange though.
like, I don't know. I just think it's strange. Like, if you can hack that, why can't you hack other things? Like, if you have that type of technology. The other thing that it brings me to is like, do you remember Terminator?
Yes.
Like, this is like a very, very old idea that's been around for a long time. And there's like a lot of different, it's like when someone hacks like the system and then manipulates it. And I think that like it's quite possible that that is like our modern warfare, Skynet.
I remember I was talking with somebody that works in cybersecurity. I've known several people that have done that for a living. And the one thing that we always laugh about is the fact that whenever you watch a movie, okay, and here's a reality. To hack a computer system is not like, and then boom, and then all of a sudden you're in. No.
Just like, I've made it to the firewall.
No.
I'm almost there.
No.
Okay,
No.
I'm in.
No,
Like
no,
the Matrix,
no,
like
no, none of that is real. Like, just to give you a real perspective of what hacking is, okay? He gave me this as an example. He says, imagine if you try to hack a military industrial complex, okay? Let's give an example. Let's just say you want to hack the company that's developing A-class missiles, okay? Warheads that go into aircraft or fighter jets.
yeah, man, they're gonna hack our freaking missile information.
So,
like,
in order to hack that system,
bad.
and this is what he told me, you would have to have 4 different computers, maybe even 5. They'd all have to be connected to a different driver, so nobody would figure out where you are, and they would have to have a different proxy in a different location. So you'd basically be blank. And then what you would have to do is you'd have to run simulations and tasks. So you'd have to constantly be inputting codes and getting errors back and forth, moving from one panel to the next. And you're like, okay, how long does that take? Well, if you take a scenario like Caesar's Palace, I would assume something like that would have taken them about 2 to 3 days. That's realistic. It probably would have taken them about 2 or 3 days to actually hack and get into their
Not a lot
system.
of time. Like, think of how long COVID took. Like,
oh yeah,
it took a while to like spread. Like, I don't know. I think that like 3 days is pretty fast. The other thing I wanted to look up was like how many people's jobs are affected by this. Like, think of how many people work at Caesar's Palace. You know what I mean? Like, and it's like, how are they going to pay those people anymore? And like, is Las Vegas going to shut down?
no.
Like, yeah, if they go bankrupt, how the fuck are they going to do that?
Well, here's another wake-up call. And unfortunately, our country has been ravaged by the cartel. And one of those things is the drug routes. there are quite a number of routes in this country that are routes to different ports to transport different types of chemicals and items as such that, when ingested, can be addictive and deadly in some cases or matter or form. And it's like one of those things where if the US lost Las Vegas, we would be in serious trouble. Same thing with Chicago. Like, it seems like, okay, what big deal? But we don't realize how much money is pumped into this country that is from the black market, especially from illegal drugs. Like, we're the perfect country to import and export drugs. Think about it. Just think about our like location. Either side of our country is the Pacific and Atlantic Ocean. One goes to Europe, one goes to Asia. Awesome. And then on the top of us, you can go to Canada. Even better. And then you have the whole South America, so everybody can import everything through America. It's like,
Ibiza.
yeah.
There's a lot of partying. I feel like that was I definitely like reconsidered my involvement with like party drugs, and I would ask that everyone kind of think about this. The fact that like it might seem like you're just trying to have fun and like you're young and like you're, being careful, you're not doing too much, like whatever, but like you are
Just a little
supporting.
cocaine, just a little cocaine, just a little in the nose, just a little.
That's
Just
how it
touch.
starts. But I feel like you're supporting those people. Like as
Mm-hmm.
much as like you're removed from everything and you're just at your party with your friends enjoying, your DJ or whatever, or your birthday, your pool party, whatever. Think about where that shit actually came from and who's actually making money off of it and all the other things that they're making money off of. And like just think about, like the women and children that are being trafficked with the same exact money that, is your drugs, is your MDMA, is your Molly, is your Coke, is your everything.
Yeah.
Like it's just like if you want to walk around and act like, you're sick of child trafficking, then you better put down all your fucking drugs too. And it's like that's the
Yeah.
world that we live in. Like,
It's just pure
I mean
awareness.
that's kind of why it's like, talk to the person who, grew the weed, you know, near you. Like, they're an actual like person that in LA, there's people who started, weed companies and they grow a drug that is, not involved in that shit. And it's like, do that, man. Like, like stop. Just get mushrooms from the guy that grew them in his closet. Like you don't need to be contributing to child trafficking. Like
It's really, it's really
I can say that now because I've done all the partying I want to do. I
it's re-
mean,
it's
can't
really
say that.
strange. It's really strange because we live in this in- vast country with so many different types of people, and we spend so much of our resources outside. There's never ever any focus on this country, on our education, our housing crisis, the wealth and well-being of American citizens, and so much more. And I'm not,
No, the
it's
the
not
federal
asking for
government
much.
doesn't do shit. The only way that like
Crazy.
education is taken care of or the well-being of like people is by like their own state governments. Like that's the only people that are actually going to watch out for their own people because they like live there too. So like the federal government, I mean, I feel like I'm making a big like, statement here, but they don't give a shit
I mean,
about like a
look at
regular
Hawaii.
person.
We
Yeah.
talked about Hawaii. Like, look at their government. I mean, it's an absolute mockery. Like, these people literally don't give a shit about human beings. Clearly,
Well, it's like who's gonna get attacked next? You know?
that's
And are they gonna put a
an
bunch of
interesting thought.
casinos in Hawaii? Like, I don't know. Like, I'm just
Shit.
like, what? Like, but honestly, like, where's the next cyber hack? And have a bunch of cyber hacks happened that no one has told us about? I mean, that's a good question too. Like, is it already a problem that people aren't communicating about? Like, I don't
Yeah.
know. It worries me, and it worries me the most when it comes to like national security. When it comes to like that you could hack our missile system, you could hack our
Well,
military.
okay.
Like,
The thing is though, and this is something really important to understand. The military industrial complex in general, their security systems, because a lot of these companies are private, okay? They will hire private freelance contractors like cybersecurity, techs, engineers, and they'll bring them on board. They have people that hack, they hire people to hack their system for them, okay? And the purpose of this is they constantly are updating their systems. So there are security systems that are safer than others, and there are ones that are going to be much harder to hack. It's interesting how this happened with Caesar's Palace, because you think a company like this with that type of infrastructure, they would have that type of system. Hardened, hackers, hired freelance engineers and IT technicians, a part of their staff constantly monitoring. I mean, it's just, I smell a rat, I'll be honest with you.
well, a lot
Yeah,
of times I think that things are put in the news in order to scare people.
possibly,
And
yeah.
so, like, this isn't in the news, So, like, it's not manipulation. It's not propaganda. It's not just, like, built to freak people out, Like, it's legit. And the fact that they actually have to pay them off means that, like, it's working, It's absolutely terrifying. Like,
They
and
they would have to seriously fix their system to be able to stop this. I mean,
well, yeah, and it's like, is the government supposed to interfere now? Like, are they supposed to protect these casinos because it's like kind of protecting the United States to an extent?
well,
Like,
the interesting thing is because the immense amount of private investment that the U.S. government has, because you have to understand a lot of the departments of the U.S. and district. I'm doing this like anybody's not watching. This is quotations. They're they're not owned by the government.
no.
They own the government. So it's not like government owns them. It's vice versa. I feel that's why you get some kind of stuff like this. Maybe, it could be rivalry between groups. We don't know.
Yeah, you wonder the motive. And then there's always that idea of like, do they know something that we don't? Like,
Ooh,
like
yeah.
what if they're the good guys and the casinos are the bad guys? Like, and I guess no one knows if like it's actually tied to the cartel or not. What type of criminals these are that are doing it, like I
This
don't
sounds like a
know.
Quentin Tarantino film right now.
It sounds like a movie.
Yeah,
Like, and that it's because like I feel like a lot of movies have been made that way. People kind of like know what's coming. Like, I don't know, even in Fight Club, they talked about like exploding like the biggest, tallest building in New York City. And this was in 1996. And so like
there's a reason for that, by the
writers
way.
what?
There's a reason for that. The reason, a lot of people have like these conspiracies of like, oh, people predicted that. The reason was there was a bombing in the World Trade Center
Yeah.
that took place in the 90s, and it was in their parking garage, and it was very bad. It was
Yeah, I
seriously.
know. And that's kind of like what the first page of Fight Club is like. Like it's like they talk about that, but this is 1996. I'm like, when did that first attack happen in the basement with the,
I'm gonna fact check,
structural they
but
tried to like, explode it from the ground down and it didn't really work the way that they wanted. So then the terrorists
that's what
decided
happened.
to yeah.
But that's what I think happened is where comedians and writers heard this and they were like, "Oh, like what if somebody would bomb, you know, a skyscraper, like destroy a building in New York City?" I think
Or do
that's
you think
where
it's
it came from.
possible? Do you think it's possible that people have like a feeling, that there's like a somehow people like kind of know what's going to happen? Like like I don't know,
1993.
like so 93. So yeah, that attack so the writer could have been, writing from something that they'd heard about or whatever. It's all, you know, eh, very, very far removed from what I do on a daily basis, you know? And I mean, so was,
I don't even want
everything.
I don't want to read this, but I think I should.
Where is
Can
it?
I?
Where'd you find it? What is
This is
it?
about the bombing.
Yeah, it's dark, isn't it? I feel
Yeah.
like read it though if you think it's significant.
We
Like,
later learned from Yosef, which was the person that was held responsible for this, that his Trade Center plot was far more sinister. He wanted the bomb to topple one tower, with the collapsing debris knocking down the second. The, atter- the attack turned out to be something of a deadly dress rehearsal for 9/11. And with the
mhm.
help of Yusef's uncle Khalid Sheikh Mohammed, Al Qaeda would later return to realize Yusuf's nightmarish vision. So, damn, and yeah, in a way, like 1993 was that was their test. That was the first time they tested on how to destroy these two buildings. Shit,
Yeah.
they succeeded.
It but like it's not enough. It's like they took down the towers and they still want to keep taking shit down.
It's
Like
not
it's
them
like
anymore. It's us. We keep on wanting taking things down. I mean, like what's going on with Ukraine?
it's
It's kind of
both, but
it's kind of hilarious. Like we spent 20 years in Afghanistan, and now we're spending this time in you know, and it's not even again. We're not a political podcast in any regards, but just think about all of the money that's being poured into another war all over again. So what does that mean for us? That means inflation spikes again. That's what happens, and it's like
no. We're not a political podcast, but
no.
I talk about what it's like to be an American, and I we have viewers that listen from other countries
Oh
and
yeah,
stuff
from
like
the
that.
UK and South
And so
America.
like
Yeah,
this is not a political thing. This is a life experience thing. This is like
yeah.
what it feels like to be here in
Right
America.
now in
Yeah.
2023 in September or
And I
October.
just
I don't remember.
there's a lot of fear. I think a lot of the fear stems from the amount of safety that I have at this moment. Like if I didn't have all this luxury and safety, I might not be so afraid of you losing it.
Yeah,
you know?
there are people that don't have access to clean water. That is a reality, or proper sanitation in any shape or form, or electricity. But you know what? I think the strangest thing about living here in the United States in 2023 is we're more aware than we ever have been. We see more than I think we've ever seen in
Mhm.
our entire life. And the fact that we're able to have an open conversation and we're not shut down and told to shut the fuck up, it's kind of nice.
I think they'd just kill us like they did Marilyn Monroe. I don't think they would like shut us down. But Facebook shuts a lot of shit down. Like I could see like somebody like being like, "Well, none of your things are fact checked." And then all of a sudden the whole thing's like gone.
Well,
You know what I
actually,
mean?
a lot of our
And it's
content,
like I never claim that it's fact. I often say this is a rumor. This is something I have heard.
yeah.
But
But
sorry.
no, no, no. We've actually had content been monitored. Yeah,
What's
quite a
that
bunch.
like?
I've gotten messages. It sucks. I made a post on our story a little bit ago. It kills our numbers. I mean, we're dealing with another drop again. I get used to it. It's just something you have to deal with as a content creator and as a podcast. And I'm being realistic. Like, if you're doing something like we're trying to be open and honest and have our own opinions and have our own perspectives, they come after you.
Hmm.
And like it doesn't matter that we only have like, a little more than 100 subscribers on YouTube and shit. Like, they still will check your stuff and monitor it. Like, it just goes to show you they're definitely watching every single person that's putting things out every day. How they're doing it, I don't know how they're managing to doing it, but they're doing it.
Yeah, it makes me not want to like read everything, look at everything, cuz like I know that I'm being like manipulated. I mean, I don't watch the news, like at all. So the things that I talk about are things that I've actually heard from actual human beings, like
Or
people that
like
I
we've
know.
read articles and stuff where you send me things
Well,
over.
yeah,
Yeah.
sometimes I do feel like Forbes is a pretty like non-biased. That's always one that like I've let like, pop up on my feed, and I won't like 100% like read the whole story, but I'll like to see like what it is that people are talking about, because I don't want like that much of like all the media to like sink into my mind, but I kind of like to know like what are the people around me worked up about, you
Right.
know? And I used to go to work and I would like be around people and I would like hear all of their gossip. And that was kind of how I would like get my news, is like I would know like, okay, so this is what people are afraid of right now. This is what people are listening to. This is what they're hearing. So for me, that's what I started doing ever since the pandemic, because I didn't want all of the manipulation like getting at my head. Like I wanted to like have my own mind,
Own
you know?
control of what you hear. Yeah, I've basically I've done that, and it's very surprising. Like, kind of tying back, we were saying earlier, my mom has started to do that as well. And my mom was telling me like she doesn't really listen to news, because when my dad was alive, constant news all the time, and my mom, she just was never interested. And it was kind of the same thing. Like, I hear from other people, I'll read something interesting, like having control of your own thoughts, being able to read things, read multiple articles, see the facts. Like, I've listened to the Joe Rogan podcast. There are other podcasts that bring people on. That's what's going on in Hawaii, or what's going on in regards to the cartel and the drug situation. And they go into that in depth and detail. And yes, it's not a 5 minute, commercial to Lady Gaga selling Zyrtec, but, you know, it's
Why is she selling Zyrtec? Like that's a job for like a person that like is like, out of money.
she suffers from migraines, and her
Because of her own common interest. That's why
correct.
she's making these
Yeah,
commercials. Ridiculous.
ridiculous, absolutely ridiculous, and it's nuts. So it's like, can you imagine? Imagine Audrey Hepburn. I'm giving this as an example because God bless her soul. Can you imagine Audrey Hepburn doing an opiate commercial? No, absolutely not. Audrey Hepburn being like, "It will take the pain away. I promise." No, never going to happen. Never will happen. But it's a clear point and it's a clear perspective. It's like, you got to choose. There's a ton of shit that's going all over the place. You can stay on TikTok going all day, but you're the one in the driver's seat, my man. Just saying.
Yeah, I mean, if we kind of go back to like the beginning thing with like, you know, like my mom just like moving all my things around, and how it is just kind of like a un subconsciously it makes me just a little uncomfortable to have like my own things like messed with all the time, by like a person that, is actually looking out for my own interests, like whatever. But like the yeah, this would be more of an example of like Big Brother, like moving shit around without your best interests. And it is very uncomfortable and unnerving, and like really just like, it stirs everybody up. Everybody's really uncomfortable because like things are not where you left them. Shit just gets like moved around.
Do you remember what I told you in regards to the one thing that your moms want more than anything is for you to just be happy? And more than that is...
Are we like being hacked like currently?
Probably. Thank you for hacking us, cyber
the
stacker
podcast
spider.
just like stops
Like for a second.
and like we're just hacked at this exact moment.
Okay, like this is legit shit right now. Okay, we got hacked by Stacker Spider UN 4434 or some shit. I don't know. But
it's possible that we were just shut down because like
possibly
we've recorded like 1,000,000 times and that has never happened. Like
no, that hasn't happened. But shit, God, this has just been insane. We went from like moms, we started with dogs to moms, and then to cyber attack in like Las Vegas to like the shit that's going on in Hawaii. Like this has been wild. Okay,
it's and we get to talk about how I get to go meet one of my favorite authors.
Fight Club, yeah.
And
that quote
Thursday, the Marilyn Monroe quote. Yeah,
you gotta get him on the podcast. That's your goal right now for this week. Yes.
Yeah. I'm way too shy to like be like, will you be on my podcast?
Enchante. Oh, please. Yeah, I like, you gotta be like, listen, man. Okay. Wanna come on our podcast, please?
I would be so nervous to like talk with him for like a whole hour on the podcast.
I know. I feel
with
you.
With you, I could do it. But like,
really?
Yeah, you're a good podcaster.
I have to be really stoned. You know, I have to be like, listen, man. But anyway, I have nothing else to say.
Yeah, I guess we should wrap this up before they shut us down again.
Literally before they shut us down.
Lady Gaga herself was like pissed and just like shut it down. She's like, stop talking shit about my commercials.
My sirirattack and my migraines. What's the best thing you can do for this podcast? Of course, we can you could leave a review, you can like and you can follow. You could find us on Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube at Lost in the Groove Pod. So
write a review. Let me know what you think about this.
Ooh, get a little saucy. All right, we love you all. Catch you on the next one. Bye, everybody.
Get lost.